You are tuned in to the Business Advice Podcast. Today, we have an entrepreneur, an educator, and an all around community activist. Can you introduce yourself and let the people know a little bit about who you are and what you're doing right now?
Okay. Well, first of all, good morning to you, Mr. Eccles. My name is Scott McHam. I am a native of and resident of Spartanburg, South Carolina. Um, I was named years ago by a deceased mentor, God bless his soul, Mr. Jim Woods, a real estate guru, that also named me Mr. Empowerment, and we can get into that later. So I go by that moniker, or that name, as far as my community motivational speaker type person, as Mr. Empowerment. But Scott McCann's my name. Um, and man, I've always had two dreams, which has combined to one because it's what I get to do. And I've been blessed to do every day. One was to be able to be my own boss or entrepreneur when I grew up and work with children that were labeled like myself or stuck in this category of at risk, special ed. I was a special ed student in elementary, early part of elementary, and at risk, I guess, because I kind of had some behavior issues. So I vowed one day that's been my dream, and I've been blessed, Sean, to live my dream. To own my own company and work in the community and work with young people, a lot of young people. So I don't have any complaints.
So, how did you gain the name Mr. Empowerment?
Well, there's an individual. His name was Jim Wood. He was a real estate guru, you could say, for lack of better words, in our area. He owned a lot of properties, and I had answered something in a local newspaper called The Shopper, and he was advertising his opportunity to actually sell legal insurance. At that time, it was called prepaid legal. I think now it's called Legal Shield now, I think, but actually the name Legal Shield was just a product under prepaid legal. So we were selling this legal insurance, and he heard me present. You know, I've had this gift. The creator's given me a gift to be able to communicate with a lot of people on different races, levels of melanin, whatever you want to call it, and they understand me, be able to teach and relay it. So he used to do these workshops and seminars, Sean, on Saturday morning, like your Marriott's or your Hampton Inn, where you would see an infomercial and they say, "Let me teach you how to flip houses. Let me teach you how to flip real estate without a license." So, long story short, after hearing me present in prepaid legal, he asked me to present and learn the script to introduce him doing his real estate seminars at the hotel on Saturday morning. So one morning he couldn't. Actually, this happened to be an evening. He was presenting to a group. It was called Network USA at that time, and it was selling real estate materials and ebooks and hard copies. Then this is in the 90s, like 99, 2000. And it's funny, he wasn't feeling well. He was under the weather. And he said, "Listen, you're gonna have to do the presentation for me tonight. I don't feel good." And I was like, "Oh, I am." He's like, "Yeah." He said, "You got this. You heard it enough. You've explained it to people I heard. So just do your best and go by the PowerPoint." So I agreed. So as he was introducing me, he said, "Stop McHam. We call him Mr. Empowerment." And I said, "Oh, you do?" So I was just as shocked. So I really didn't grasp that name or take it very seriously until after I went through a tragic moment of my mother passing from a heart attack all of a sudden. And then of course, I went through some other situations of some slight depression. So I needed something to grab on to, Sean. So what I did was eventually I took that name and began posting quotes of the day on my Facebook page. And I would say, I would take a poem. You may have did a quote or a poem that stuck with me, and I would take it and summarize every morning. And I was really doing this type stuff to build me, to rebuild me back from going through those situations. So it just caught on, and after a while, I added a tagline to it. So it became Mr. Empowerment, enlighten, encourage, and empower. So enlighten, teach, because I love teaching people and giving them new ideas and information. Encourage, motivate you. Hey, you can do this. What I'm telling you about, did you know you could do this, blah, 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 and you'll be good at it. Kind of like he used to do me. And then secondly was the third, excuse me, was the fact that he would call me Mr. Empowerment. So I looked that up and it stood for giving somebody the power to do something. So I was like, okay, so I give you the information. I motivate you and encourage you and let you know that you can do it. If I can do it, you could do it. And then I give you the blueprint. And this is how. Seldom do people when they give you information say, okay, yeah, you can do this, but they don't give you the how to. So that's just who really became what was already in me that somebody else kind of spoke and I grasped onto it and here I am.
So how did you get into helping kids?
Like I said, I always wanted to. I actually, I went to college, man. Really didn't want to go. I always just wanted to, man, how am I gonna make some money? And I went to school to be, my major was psychology with a minor in sociology at Winthrop University. And when I got out, I wanted to work with young people, like I said, at risk, trouble. So I thought I would get into being a guidance counselor or some type of counseling through the school district. And I began working at a school district here, and there was never an opening as far as guidance counselor doing things with that. And they were saying, well, you can go back to school and we'll forgive your student loan if you have to get one to do that. And then you maybe can get into this field, administration. But I didn't want that. I really wanted to just work with the young people that were they were saying underserved or counted out. I always wanted to do that. Um, so I volunteered things with Boys and Girls Club, the Smart Centers. I worked in Parks and Recreation as a recreational director. So I did a lot of different things, young people, Boy Scouts. Um, so I just always had that passion. I had that when I was a kid. So like I said, I'm living my dream. What I'm doing on a daily basis is really what I've always wanted to do. So that's how I kind of started, I guess you could say, in the school district. I didn't kind of like the red tape and bureaucracy of the school district, especially when it came to the brown and black uh, boys and girls. So I said I'm gonna do my own thing. So I left the school district in '99 and became a um, full-time tax person through H&R Block. I was doing it part-time in '98. So until this day, I've owned my own after taking a few part times with Liberty Tax and different organizations. I wind up in '06 launching my own tax office, Alpha and Omega Tax. Then in 2020, I became an LLC with it. All this time, I really wasn't an LLC. So I began teaching in '05, though. I began teaching entrepreneurship and financial literacy to young people from ages 8 up. So now we can teach stock market to a fourth grade, and we can enlist them in this thing called a stock market game. So I got certified with South Carolina economics to be able to do that. Formerly owned a franchise called Young Biz, which I've looked up and I don't even know if they're in existence anymore. But I had a franchise from '05 to '10, Young Biz. And when in Young Biz, what we did is, like I said, we taught entrepreneurship and financial literacy to young people, to youth. Still do that to this day. One of the guys that I mentored when he was in college became the director in 2016, 17. He became the director of My Brother's Keeper Alliance in South Carolina, Spartanburg. But I had mentored him in business. and he asked me to jump on board with MBK, and I was like, sure, sure, because I knew he was doing a great thing with our young people in the city. I knew he was passionate, and he was one of those young individuals in college that I mentored in business and entrepreneurship. So my thing was I always taught them they don't owe me anything but to pay it forward. So they have to pay it forward. So that's how that came about. I started back in the school. I just never left. Being an entrepreneur has provided me to be able to whenever I want. If I want to break away and go work with some youth, I can. If I don't have to worry about taking a vacation day or getting out from the job because I own the company. So man, we got about 200 boys in my brother's keeper, and I'm gonna say about 20 something girls. And it's strange because we started with all girls. So now we have my brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. We have a MBSK logo now, my brother's sister's keeper. So we worked on things like in partnership with the Hope Foundation, helping our people emerge with Miss Tasha Taria, which is actually Damon John's personal assistant from Shark Tank, who started FUBU. Her husband is my actual mentor, one of my mentors. And for 2 years now, we have done a Hope Entrepreneurship Day, and Damon John is sponsored it. First year he came on Zoom because it was COVID. It was still kind of COVID. No, he didn't come in person. Last year he came in person, um, operating off about 2 hours sleep. So, like I told him, I always have mad respect out of your busy schedule. You came to support our young people, and we did a sort of like a Shark Tank pitch day, and a couple of them, two of them won, two our teenagers, and we got that coming up again in December here. So that'll be a great thing for you to check out too. So that's pretty much how it happened, man. And I just never stopped, just because both of those things, entrepreneurship and being a youth advocate, that's what I've always wanted to do. So I lead this earth doing the same thing. Hmm.
So we talked about how you got your name and
Hmm.
how you became more active with kids in the community. Now we need to understand how you got into doing business.
There you go. So I got to spill all the tea, right? Okay. Uh, Man, most of us, Sean, as you know, man, we kind of grew up around somebody doing hair. Miss Mabel got the Kool-Aid and the candy she selling out the store in the neighborhood, stuff like that. Mine is a little unique because on my dad's side, they used to have a lot of little business operations going on, from landscaping to, I mean, man, selling cans to picking up trash. They always kept some type of hustle outside of his job going. Um, Also growing up in a certain neighborhood, I got to see some of the wrong things when it came to making money. So the hustle mentality was there. But one of the main things that hit me when I was, well, I'm gonna say right before I turned 13, my mother had bought me a pair of sneakers that in our day we called them Jeepers. They wasn't the name brand shoes. And I didn't like them, and I was pouting, and she said, listen, if you don't like what I buy you, you buy your own. So that's that part of my dad that kicked in, and I was like, "Hey, say no more." So I pretty much did like the young people said. I jumped off the porch and got it out the mud, man. Back then we was able to take a couple of old lawnmowers. My grandmama had some parts down in the country, and we had to learn to put mini bikes and all that together. So I pieced together me a lawnmower and got me a milk jug back when they used to still let you put gas in milk jugs. And I tied that string around, and my dad put that lawnmower in the back of the car. And we brought it back uptown here to the city. And in my neighborhood, I began knocking on doors, cutting grass for $20, man. Front 10, back 10. Kept it simple. Well, lo and behold, I didn't realize that when fall hit, I would need to rake the leaves too. So my entrepreneurial journey started with me being mad about a pair of tennis shoes, and embarrassed to wear them because I knew that my boys from the neighborhood would clown me with them fish heads on. So So I was able to now buy me some real Chuck Taylors, or buy me some real K-Swiss, or buy me some real Pro Kids. I'm telling my age now, because you notice I'm not even saying Nike because it didn't even exist yet. So I'm not hollering. I could get some Adidas maybe, but I couldn't get those other shoes. So man, that's how it started. Stubbornness, and okay, well I'll show you. And I really never turned back, man. After that, I would get as a teenager. My mom's worked at this place called Piedmont Community Actions, and it was a lot of women dealing with Head Start programs and all that in that building. So man, I would buy lipstick, fingernail polishes, hair bows, and rubber bands for little girls. I found out that women bought from men. They love to buy from men. I realized that young, so I had a little charm about myself. So I started selling lipstick, fingernail polish and stuff like that at my mom's job. And then after that, the styling salons. I figured I could sell everything to the women. I rarely ever went around selling the guys. Um, so that's the thing about it. That franchise I had got back in '05. One of my mom's is superiors from her job remembered me always coming in selling her stuff, and she used to live in L.A., Los Angeles, and attend the swap meets. And she said I reminded her of the swap meets in Atlanta. So when I told her what I wanted to do with teaching our kids entrepreneurship and stock market and stuff like that, it lit up. She spoke to her attorney, and that attorney said, if you don't help invest in this young man, I'll do it. So that's how that launched off with being able to do the workshops and the camps for the young people. But the entrepreneurship journey started with me over a pair of sneakers that I didn't like.
Okay, so your tax business, what motivated you to start doing taxes?
I One year I'm a divorcee, unfortunately. When I was married to a cosmetologist, and they were making their money just like most general people do. I had a retail license, and I had a when I met her, I had uh a clothing slash beeper, a pager store. Now, this is the same time, brother, while I'm working in the school district. I was working in special ed, which I was labeled. I was working in special ed, and I was doing selling clothes. I had a clothing store. Well, as the clothing store, the mall started getting a lot of the pure players, Mecca, Shabazz, Brothers, Carl, Kanai. Once the Asians got a whim of, hey, we could sell this in the mall. The young people wanted to be seen in the mall, so they would go in there. They would go in there and buy it in the mall. So I got into I took a class at Block because our first tax return we did together as a couple, we owed probably about $5,000 back. And I was like, it's got to be some rules and credits that I don't know about. So I really took a class with Block to do that. But I did so well in the class, in which I didn't think I was doing that well in it, but my scoring was high. And they convinced me to work for them for 1 year. So in '98, I worked for Block. And I started taking the small business class so I could learn more about business taxes and credit. And then after that, I just fell in love with it, man. And after '99, I was just in the tax business, and I never turned back.